Death Stranding is a game of many themes, many ideas, and many characters that all come together to give us something new. Given full creative freedom at his new studio, Kojima set out to make an entirely new genre along with his game, and to be honest, he did just that. I can't say I've ever played a game like it, and that's a good thing. It shows that there are still untapped sources of creativity out there that can make some truly great things. Unfortunately though, Death Stranding was not one of those titles. Despite a lot of media outlets and fans of Kojima alike who praise this game as a masterpiece, I couldn't see this game as much more than a pretentious art project that was led by someone who thought he was more artistic than he really is. Now, don't get me wrong, I respect the guy and I'm a fan of his work, but this one feels like he tried so hard in making something meaningful that he forgot what he was actually making. To put it simply, the game consists of an extremely linear progression system, which gives the illusion of free will, even though there aren't really any mechanics to let you do much else than what you're supposed to do. There are four main parts to this game. 1. The story. The story is honestly the only thing I can say that's redeeming about this title, and even that gets a bit tough going at times. It's not because I didn't understand it, as Kojima likes to point out, it's because it's too complicated and downright ridiculous at times. Some of the characters like Higgs, Cliff and Fragile, played by the amazing Troy Baker, Mads Mikkelsen and Lea Seydoux respectively, are great with their backstories being some of the best in the game. But for characters like Mama, Hartman, Deadman, Amelie and Lochna, they are unbelievably silly and really show how much they want you to become overly invested in them with an abundance of information with meaningless twists. While Sam is a somewhat interesting character, there just isn't enough to get you invested in his own personal story. The baby you carry around is actually more interesting than him. Although the music in the game is also beautiful and sets the tone of the story very well, it still feels though it's trying to make you feel something that I just didn't. 2. Deliveries. Making deliveries is the core of the game, and you'll find yourself doing this about 85% of the time. Pick up something from a station and take it to the next, whilst navigating the terrain or avoiding enemies like crazed delivery boys, terrorists, which are pretty much just like the crazed delivery boys but with guns, and BTs. Then, when you get there, you can do another delivery. Then when you get there, you can do another one, and then another one, and they just don't seem to end. Along the way you can find missing packages to return to stations for a little extra, but that's essentially what the game is. There's also a massive open world to explore, but I wouldn't bother. It doesn't really have anything hidden or amazing to see, not that I could find anyway. A few collectibles here and there, but it's more or less commentary from behind the scenes of making the game. It has a fun little quirk where it makes you manage the cargo by weight and placement, so say if you're travelling over flat land, you're fine unless you're carrying too much on one side, then you'll start to topple and need to retain your balance. If you're climbing over rocks or steep land, then you'll need to make sure you don't fall, or if you're wading through the water, then you'll need to check the depth so you don't fall in and be forced to paddle to the edge as your cargo floats away from you. And don't worry about the enemies trying to kill you during deliveries. They can all be taken down with one hit from a gun you get early on, so they pose no threat at all after that point. Even the ghostly BTs. At first it can be pretty addictive trying to see how much cargo you can take to each station, but trust me, after the first hour, you've pretty much played most of what's to come. 3. Bosses. At points in the game, and these are few and far between, you'll encounter a boss fight. Now while I did enjoy these at first, they are pretty redundant in the long run. The first few bosses were the same, just some kind of big tar animal, then you dodge its attacks while climbing on buildings in a tar lake and then shoot it with whatever you have. The later boss fights are a little more interesting, but it's pretty much the same thing again. The one part of them that was pretty annoying was how easy they really are. They hardly damage you, they hardly hit you as they're easy to avoid, and if you do get killed by it, then you can just come back with its health, not even reset. And no, it's not a difficulty thing, I was playing on hard mode. The only boss fight I really enjoyed was Higgs because it felt personal. He's a great character, and it really felt like you had a proper reason to be fighting him, as well as the fact that if you die in this one, then you do need to start from the beginning. It's the only fight that actually felt meaningful and tense. Cliff also has sections that you fight him in, and while the settings are stunning, the boss fights sadly are just the same 3 times. It's very repetitive. 4. Building. Building things for other players works really well, and it's an aspect that really reminded me of leaving notes for players in Souls games, but a little more expanded. Need to get up a cliff, but you don't have any equipment on you? Someone's already laid down a rope for you to use. Need to get over a river? Someone's already built a bridge over it. Need to zipline across an area that you know is full of BTs? There's 2 already set up. There was a great feeling coming out of helping other players and having them help you. One of the themes of the game is connection, and it really played out well with the players themselves, so a massive thumbs up for this inclusion. Now with my 52 hours I spent with the game, I tried to do as much as I could, but with the sheer number of deliveries you have to make and the areas that slowed you down like the snowy mountains and swamplands, it just made the whole game a chore to play. The cutscenes are long, which I guess is to be expected from a Kojima title, but they have very little substance to them. The game's main theme is connection, but you hear them talk about it every time there's a conversation. Seriously, every time someone will mention the word connection and bridges and bringing people together. The names of the people are a little too on the nose as well, like Mama, the woman who has a ghost baby, Deadman, the guy who's made up of other people, sort of like Frankenstein, and the worst offender of all, Hartman, who has a heart-shaped heart overlooking a heart-shaped lake whose heart stops every 20 minutes. It just got so long-winded and silly that I just wanted to finish it. Then, when I did get to the end, I had to sit through credits while doing nothing but wandering on a beach that was very slow as it was continuously being interrupted by talking. And as it finally ended, I had another hour of cutscenes followed by the same credit roll. I had to sit through the credit roll twice. To sum it up, the story is just about the only reason to play this, and that's pretty hard going at times too. Now, there were times when I thought, the story has just reached peak, like it's just reached such an incredible moment that I need to find out what happens next. But they will be spaced out between the hours. So if you're looking for a game that you can waste time on doing repetitive tasks for an hour or two, then maybe this game is for you. But if you're looking for an exciting and thrilling story and gameplay to match, then I'd stay away from it. There's a reason people call this a UPS simulator.